The scene opens with a man nervously booking a reservation at a restaurant. From his brief exchange with the hostess, it's clear he's both anxious and excited. He's waiting to meet someone special. After being shown to his table, he sits alone, trying to steady his nerves. Moments after the hostess walks away, a shadowy figure approaches from behind and presses a sheet of paper tightly over his face, suffocating him. The LAPD are called in to the crime scene. Detective Oz briefs the team the victim is Nathan Gold, a 46-year-old local resident. He was found behind the restaurant's dumpsters, a plastic bag taped over his head. Karadec quickly notes that since Nathan's phone and credit cards were still on him, this wasn't a robbery. The paramedics on scene report that Nathan went into cardiac arrest. They're still trying to revive him, but his pulse is weak and he remains unconscious. They also recognize him. They've treated Nathan several times before for suspicious accidents. Once he claimed he fell and broke his leg, another time that he burned his hand on a stove. He always brushed it off as clumsiness, but the medics admit it never quite added up. Interviewing the restaurant hostess, the detectives learn that Nathan arrived around 7:45, clearly nervous about his upcoming meeting. When she returned from the back room, she assumed he'd left, but later noticed his pin still on the table. She went to look for him, but got distracted by work. Meanwhile, Morgan surveys the cafe setup and notices something strange. Every table looks disturbed, except Nathan's. The drink stains across the floor are too symmetrical, as if deliberately poured. She theorizes the spills were staged to make the scene look chaotic, but no one had actually been sitting at those tables. Someone had orchestrated the setup to ensure Nathan sat at the table nearest the alley. When asked how she discovered the body, the hostess recalls hearing a duck quacking from the alley. When she went to check, she found Nathan behind the dumpster. But Morgan quickly points out another inconsistency. There's no trace of duck droppings anywhere in the alley. And if there were ducks, she says dryly, there'd be poop. Morgan and Karadec head to Nathan's apartment to search for clues. After a thorough sweep, they notice one thing immediately. Nathan was clearly a baseball fan. His shelves are lined with books on player statistics and several team schedules. Something doesn't add up. For someone who seemed obsessed with the sport, there isn't a single piece of fan merchandise in sight. No caps, no jerseys, not even a team banner. Morgan finds it strange that a man so fixated on baseball stats would have nothing personal to show his support. As she looks over a stack of overdue bills, another picture starts to form. The financial strain suggests Nathan might have been gambling and losing badly. Morgan theorizes that the accidents mentioned by the medics weren't accidents at all, but the result of run-ins with debt collectors. As Morgan and Karadec continue digging through Nathan's belongings, they come across a scrap of paper covered in a string of numbers. It's unclear whether it's a bank account, a passcode, or even an international phone number, but it clearly means something. Before they can analyze it further, the sound of metal scraping against the door catches their attention. A man, later identified as Marco, is picking the lock to Nathan's apartment. The moment Karadec shouts for him to stop, he bolts. A chase erupts through the hallway and out into the street. As Karadec pursues him, Morgan spots another man sitting in a parked car nearby. She yells, "Cops!" and the man panics, speeding off and abandoning his accomplice. Marco is caught moments later. During the search that follows, Karadec discovers a used syringe hidden inside the man's jacket pocket. He theorizes that Marco had come back to collect anything of value from Nathan's apartment, possibly to pay off the same debt that had already gotten Nathan nearly killed. Welcome back to Sandy's Timeline. Today, we're diving into High Potential Season 2, Episode 3. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you enjoy these recaps. Let's get into it. They trace Michael's trail back to his employer, Ray, a known loan shark who runs an underground gambling operation. During questioning, it becomes clear that Ray wasn't directly involved in Nathan's attack earlier that morning. Morgan explains what they discovered on Michael, an empty syringe. She believes Ray had sent his men to inject an air bubble into Nathan's bloodstream, a quiet and efficient way to cause cardiac arrest, making the death appear natural. The fact that Ray ordered the hit after the attack suggests he didn't know Nathan had already been targeted. Morgan theorizes that the intent behind such a subtle murder method wasn't just to punish Nathan, but to send a message, a lesson to others in debt. Still, something doesn't sit right with her. Why go through the trouble of making Nathan's death look peaceful if Ray wanted to make an example out of him? Then it hits her. The string of mysterious numbers they found in Nathan's apartment wasn't a bank code or password. It was his social security number. Morgan pieces it together. Ray must have forced Nathan to name him as the beneficiary of his life insurance policy. Nathan's death wasn't just a warning, it was a payout. They bring in Jessica Gould, Nathan's daughter, to question her about the insurance beneficiary change. Karadec gently asks how she felt about her father removing her as the beneficiary, but Jessica seems genuinely confused. She insists she had no idea there even was an insurance policy. Jessica explains that she and her father had been estranged for years, but about a month ago, he reached out, saying he wanted to reconnect to make things right before going away for a while. When Karadec asks about the ladybug pin found at the restaurant, Jessica smiles faintly and says Ladybug was the nickname her dad used for her when she was little. They then ask why she never showed up for the dinner meeting. Jessica corrects them immediately. She did show up, but Nathan never arrived. Unexpected, Jessica is pregnant. She explains that she told her father about the pregnancy the last time they saw each other. He was emotional, even hopeful. It doesn't fit the profile of a man ready to end his life. Then Jessica mentions something that catches Morgan's attention. Nathan had recently been visiting a cardiologist. He said it was just for routine checkups, even though he'd never complained of any health issues. Karadec frowns, realizing how strange it is for a man with no known medical problems to schedule multiple tests and scans on himself. Later at the precinct, Daphne briefs Morgan and Karadec on a new discovery. While combing through Nathan's phone, the tech team found a fake email, one that appeared to be from his daughter, Jessica, changing the location of their meeting. Someone had deliberately impersonated her to lure Nathan to the wrong place. As Morgan scrolls through the phone herself, she notices a set alarm. When she plays the alert sound, it quacks like a duck, instantly explaining the noise the restaurant hostess heard near the dumpster. Morgan's expression darkens as the pieces click into place. She theorizes that the killer had set the alarm to go off around 8 a.m., timing it so Nathan's body would be discovered shortly after the attack, late enough for him to be brain dead, but early enough for his organs to remain viable. It hits her all at once. Nathan wasn't killed out of revenge or debt. He was targeted for his heart. Morgan and Selena head to the hospital to question the transplant coordinator, the same woman they'd seen speaking with Nathan in the days before his death. When they ask her about the intended recipient of Nathan's heart, the woman immediately shuts down. She insists she doesn't know anything, like someone terrified of a force far more powerful. As Morgan reviews the list later that night at home, she studies the photos of those awaiting transplants, looking for anyone influential enough to silence an entire hospital. That's when Ava walks in and points to one photo, Carson Wood, a powerful Hollywood producer and one of the hospital's biggest donors. Something about the image catches Ava's attention. It's from a red carpet event, but in the background, she spots an actress wearing a gown from a now infamous designer, the same one involved in a major fashion scandal over a year ago. The realization hits her, the photo is old. Carson Wood has been posting old pictures. No one has seen any recent photos of him for months. When they finally intercept him, they discover he's being transported for his heart transplant. Carson explains that the hospital reported technical issues earlier, but they eventually found another donor in Utah. Meanwhile, Karadec receives a call from Morden. Nathan's heart has been stolen, and they have no leads on who did it. The hospital confirms that the removal went as normal, and the heart was properly packaged for transport to another facility. Somewhere between the operating room and the transport team, it vanished. Surveillance shows nothing unusual. Selena asks how long it would take for someone to remove a heart and transplant it into another patient. The hospital estimates 6 hours, and 2 have already passed. As Morgan reviews the donor match receipts, she filters out candidates with incompatible blood types, wrong body sizes, or who live too far away. Only 6 potential recipients remain. Then she notices one name, Rosemary Caffery, a 70-year-old patient at Eaton General in end-stage heart failure. How did Morgan know? Rosemary's profile lists albuterol, the same medication the paramedics claimed was being stolen, the one hospitals were short on. Morgan forms a theory. One of the paramedics might be Rosemary's son. Her suspicion deepens when she sees Rosemary's record. Caffery was her second husband's last name. Her first husband's? Bishop. And one of the paramedics on scene was Christopher Bishop. Morgan connects the dots. Christopher and Nathan likely knew each other. Nathan's frequent injuries probably brought him into contact with local paramedics often. They may have bonded over their struggles. When Nathan decided to end his life, he may have offered to donate his heart to Christopher's ailing mother. But when Nathan changed his mind after learning from his daughter Jessica that he was going to be a grandfather, Christopher decided to take matters into his own hands. He staged the messy bar scene to ensure Nathan sat near the alley, dragged his body there after the suicide attempt, and set an alarm so someone would find him at just the right time. The location was close to Christopher's firehouse, allowing him to show up for his shift before the emergency call came in, creating the perfect alibi. From there, he could make sure he was the paramedic who responded to Nathan's call. In the end, the operation was canceled. Christopher Bishop was arrested before the transplant could take place, his plan exposed in time. But there was one small light in all the darkness. Nathan's heart didn't go to waste. It was given to another patient, a 17-year-old in critical condition, saving one life after all. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Sandy's Timeline, where every story has a twist worth remembering.